Hello, everyone. Carlton T. Clay here, and welcome to Celebrating Black Excellence. If you are a child of the 90s, our next guest, you know who he is. He played Tony Wicks on the hit TNBC show, California Dreams. I am presenting to you Dr. William James Jones. How you doing today, sir?
I am awesome. I'm feeling great. How about you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. I definitely appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to talk with us here on Celebrating Black Excellence. Now, my first question, I know this was a lifetime ago for you, but how did you get started with acting?
Oh yeah, that was the show as of I think this week, 31 years ago is when the show premiered. If that just says anything. 31 years. My gosh.
Wow.
And the fact that we have such wonderful, loyal fans still, it's incredible. But I was a young child actor in Chicago. I went to a high school called the Chicago Academy for the Arts. And there I got to engage in theater and music and dance and art pretty much all day until about 4:30. And that prepared me well. I was pretty involved on the theater scene in Chicago for quite some time. I did a couple plays at the Goodman Theater, like Shakespeare's Twelfth Night and so on. And so I thought of myself as a young, serious thespian. And this really fun show came along. My agent at the time said, you know, you're a serious actor. Are you sure you want to do a comedy? I said, yeah, it sounds like fun. And it was a blast. I don't regret it at all. I was able to literally just have the most amazing, expressive version of myself on that show. And I'm glad that people are still wanting to know how we're doing and wanting to come see us.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, you played again. I mentioned Tony Wicks. What was the audition process like for being a part of the show?
Yeah, so they did a national search for my character. I think two of the other characters were LA casted. I think Jenny and uh, not Jenny. I think it was Kelly's character and Sly was casted through LA. But I was in Chicago at the time, and so I had to audition on tape. They wanted me to sing, and because it is a show about singing, about a high school band,
Right.
and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be singing again. And so I put together a audition of Johnny Gill's "Rub You the Right Way," and pretended I was performing for 10,000 people and singing about stuff I had no clue about at 15, 16 years old. And Peter Engel, the executive producer, he absolutely loved it and flew me out to LA to what they call network for the final audition in front of all the network executives. And I got to tap into that comedic sensibility that I developed a little bit of in the theater world. And the rest, as they say, was history.
Yeah, man, definitely. So like, as we mentioned, the show's about a group of high schoolers. They're in the band, and I got to talk about the songs because the songs are definitely iconic. I want to share with you my three favorite songs that you guys did, and both of them are yours. Next Big Thing and Rain. So those are my two favorite songs, and then also She's Not You. I love that song too. Did you have any favorite songs that you guys performed?
Though I mean, all of those are definitely up there, and I loved Rain. In fact, and then the next big thing, had a blast doing that. It's a fan favorite, and it's definitely one that we'll be doing on the reunion, or at the reunion. So yeah, I think the Rain experience was great because it reminded me of the kind of R&B music light that I enjoyed in the '90s.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to put the music video together, I wanted that to be my Bobby Brown coming out moment, just just really doing it. And because we were a teen Saturday morning television show, they wanted to keep it teen, and so we had to have these marionette puppets, and I had to sing to a doll a couple times in the video shoot, and I was so upset about that. I kept thinking, you all are ruining my Bobby Brown moment here. Bobby Brown wouldn't sing to a doll, but they wanted to keep it really PC. And anyway, it was fun, and it ended up fine, and got to dance a little bit in the video. But that is by far my favorite. Rain and the next big thing, and then of course the theme song. People love that theme song.
Yeah.
Uh, as soon as they hear it, it takes them back to a special place in their childhood.
Yeah, definitely. And my next question is, how do you feel about people's, your show definitely had an impact on people. How do you feel that people still love the show, love the characters? How does that make you feel as an actor on the show?
Yeah, I mean, I hung up my acting chops, a few decades ago as I transitioned into the mental health field. But I will say that it's special because our show was really wholesome, if I dare say that. It always had a meaning and a point. It was kind of like a Scooby Doo episode where there was some kind of takeaway at the end about humanity and about doing what's right, and the multiculturalism that was evident in our show. I mean, Peter Ingle was one of the first to really have a multicultural cast, and to introduce the kind of relationships that would be problematic. Um, uh, well, they're not problematic today. They were definitely problematic back then. I would get all kind of mail about the different sketches and scenes that they were creating for us. So I think it was ahead of its time, and people can appreciate a show with a message. We all loved each other. We get along. It feels like high school, like a high school reunion for me. I was 15 when I started, and we were really close, especially Jenny and Kelly and Michael. We're all really close friends still to this day.
That's awesome. And speaking of reunion, you guys have one coming up, a meet and greet coming up soon. Can you please tell us about that?
Yeah, back by popular demand. We did one back, I think, in 2019, 2020. There's a California Dreams reunion. Actually, the first one was right before that. Jimmy Fallon was a big fan of our show, and he wanted to have a California Dreams reunion. And so he brought us out to New York on his show to do that, because there was a Saved by the Bell reunion, and he wanted a California Dreams reunion. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that didn't watch the show, it came on right after Saved by the Bell. But anyway, so we did a reunion concert here in LA, and it was wildly successful. It sold out in like 10 minutes. We had to add another show, and we were going to possibly do a little mini tour after that, and then COVID happened, and plus a few other factors. But now that that's kind of winding down and or over, the fans still want it. They still want it, and the girls, Kelly and Jenny, have done little mini concerts here and there. I've not been involved. I've been very focused on my clinical work. But this one, they asked me if I would do it, and the fans really want me there, and I couldn't say no, and I want to be there. I mean, there are people who have done covers of Rain that send me shots of it. They have done covers of our different songs, and they'll send it to us. Some of them watch it on YouTube with their kids. It's just I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but it feels like a kind of a cult classic for some people. And I want to give some of that love back. So that's why we're doing the reunion concert. That's why I'll be there, and the whole cast for the first time. Everyone from the very first season will all be there, and we're going to sing all of their favorite songs, and basically give the fans what they want.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We appreciate you for doing that for sure. Now, I'll have a character question. In 2023, what do you think Tony would be doing right now?
Well, if you remember the last episode, Tony got into Yale. So I think my actual life now wouldn't be too far off. I'm a professor and I'm a clinical psychologist. So I'd like to think that he would be doing something like that, or maybe he'd be the principal of a school or something, or of a theater group.
That's awesome. Now, let's talk about that. So I want to make sure I read it, because I want to make sure I have it correct. You did a pivot in your life. You are now Dr. William James Jones with a PhD in clinical psychology, and you are the CEO and clinical director of the Jones Psychology Group.
Yes.
Now, what made you go into this direction?
Best way to explain it is it's a calling, a nudging. I'd always been interested in philosophy and theology and psychology. And I just kind of considered it a hobby. I love reading books. I don't know how wide your shot is, but these are 2 of 4 bookcases that I have. I've always enjoyed reading books, and when I started a small theater company called the Jones Theater Workshop back in the days of my acting time, I would write little plays and I would direct and I would work with actors who wanted to be part of this group. I had 20 members at that time, and I started this coaching division where basically if any of the actors wanted to work with me one on one, that was a kind of a separate thing, and I started to really enjoy working with the actors as people one on one and helping them figure out their lives.
Mhm.
And that was just there was just something in that that really lit a fire inside of me. And people just tend to, at least at that time, would come to me for just coaching or life questions or some kind of mentorship. And so eventually, I just if you really want to know, I don't know how much time we have here, but I was volunteering at a church in Inglewood, and many decades ago, just as a lay counselor. And there was a gentleman that was fresh out of a long-term incarceration who was living in a halfway house, and he was wanted someone to talk to. And they have licensed counselors there, but they have lay counselors. And I was just a lay counselor, meaning not formally trained, just someone with a heart wants to be there for people. And this guy was really in a state of questioning his life and only wanted to talk to me.
Mm.
And I kept trying to push him to other people who were professionals, but he just wanted to talk to me. And so I would talk to the elders and say, well, what do I do? And they said, give him this resource, give him that resource, do this, do that. And I kept thinking, I don't know what to say to this guy. I don't know how to really help him. And that inspired me to go and take a psychology class. And literally, it was that psychology class at a community college here in LA that just awoke something. And I wanted to take another class after that, and another class, and another class. I said, well, I want to get a degree in this thing. And it's, I mean, the rest, as they say, is history. It just lit a fire that has not stopped. I love what I do. I work with a lot of people in the business, people, normal folk too, or everyday folk, if you will. And it has given me, California Dreams has given me insight into a world that I can blend all of that together with people who are very eccentric and different. And they think different and they behave differently, and it all works together.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I definitely appreciate that. I'm sure people are going to take something from what you share with your story, so we definitely appreciate that. My final question for you is, I know mental health is something that we constantly are talking about now, which is very important, especially in the African American community. How important is it for those of us to take care of us, our mental health? Like, how important is that for us to focus on that?
It's as important as doing your annual physical at a medical doctor. Your primary care physician. Mental health is as real as anything else going on with you. Just because people cannot see it doesn't mean it does not exist. And I'm really happy to see that society is shifting quite a bit nowadays especially in the Black community, becoming more and more accepting of it. Our nation needs support. I mean, if you think about all the anxiety and depression and people who are abusing substances, especially through COVID, there are so many marriages that suffer. There are so many people who are addicted to things. They were drinking way more than they normally would because of the isolation. The anxiety has been spiking through the roof, not just here in the US, but around the world. The World Health Organization has all kind of very jarring data about depression globally,
Mm.
globally. So we need more people to check in with themselves and lean in and engage in psychotherapy if it's needed for them. So I'm a big proponent of it. Clearly very biased, but I've seen lives transformed by getting the proper help they need at the right time, and it's out there. The help is available.
Awesome. We thank you so much for that. Now, people want to follow your journey and what you have going on now. How can they do so?
Well, I'm not really much on social media, but my kids, they convinced me to keep at least on Instagram. So they can follow me there. It's just William James Jones, PhD. It's a private account, but I guess it's private, but I let people in. Uh, or however that works. But also, I'm doing my mission here. I'm doing my work. I will do interviews like this from time to time. But the most important thing that I do is teach the next generation of psychologists and also work with patients who are a good fit for me, or my colleagues who I've hired in my practice, and we are doing our part to make the world a better place.
That's beautiful. Well, Dr. Jones, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to sit here with us on Celebrating Black Excellence. We definitely appreciate you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.
No problem. All right, everyone. I am Carlton T. Clay, and this is Celebrating Black Excellence, where we celebrate Black excellence every day. Have a good one.